My friends, did you know that in many ways the world is better than ever, despite what we hear all around us? Join us today as we talk about solid, trustworthy facts that show us that in many ways things are looking up on a worldwide level, and why we can let go of fear and allow ourselves to see the good and teach our kids to challenge those misconceptions and develop a more optimistic view for increased fulfillment. Stay tuned. Hey parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self-care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back, my friends, to episode number 144, Seeing the Bright Side, How the World is Better Than We Think. I have mentioned this book before that was called Factfulness that I read years ago, but I still think about it, and I often go back to their website. I think it's called gapminder.org. Actually, yes, it is. And I just check the facts sometimes to remind myself that things are better than we think, because I feel like it's so easy to get caught in this loop where we are just assuming that everything is going to become really terrible at any moment, and it makes us live in this constant fear, especially if you're religious and you think about like the second coming or the millennium or any of these things. It's very easy to get caught up in how terrible things are. And yet the people that I admire the most are those that have wisdom about that concept. They recognize that when there's not a moral compass, things will get worse in many ways, but there are things to be optimistic about and to recognize. And that's a space where I would like to reside. Again, as I was seeing this pattern of this perspective coming up with my clients, I thought, you know what, this is something that we need to revisit and remind ourselves that the world really is better than we think and that we can look at the facts. So like I said, it's easy to get caught up in the doom and gloom presented by the news because headlines often focus on crises and conflicts and disasters, and they give us this skewed perception of the world. But what if I told you that by many measures, like I talked about in this website, the world is actually improving? So I'm just going to give you a few different stats, and then you can go check out the website yourself, so that we can learn how to shift our mindset and see the good around us. But before I go into that, don't forget to check out our new blog on fulfillment.therapist.org. I am currently getting someone to fix some of the coding because Google changed some of their regulations. So if it doesn't pop up on your phone on our website, make sure to check it out on a laptop or desktop computer because it will there. And hopefully by the time you listen to this, that will not be an issue. So go ahead and check out our new blog. And now let's get back to these facts. So like I said, gapminder.org, GAPMINDER.org shares some encouraging statistics about the state of our world. And these are new statistics as of 2024. They do have other ones from further back, and They keep track of a lot of these, but specifically look for the ones for 2024. And if you have read the book Factfulness, they share about where all of this information is coming from, and it is not biased. It's reputable sources, and you can find out all that information on their website as well. So let's start with number 1, extreme poverty. So the percentage of people living in extreme poverty has dramatically decreased over the past few decades. For example, in 1990, 36% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty. But today, that number is less than 10%. Is there room for improvement? Yes. And that is quite significant. That is something to celebrate because that wasn't all that long ago. So again, less than 10% is in extreme poverty. And according to the news and shows and all of these things, you get this idea that it's much bigger than it actually is. They actually have a quiz on this website, and every time I take it, no matter how many times I know these things and I review some of these facts, I score pretty poorly every time. A little bit better than average, but still pretty poorly because I still see it as a little bit worse than it really is. So it's just interesting to take that. You'll probably enjoy that quiz. Number 2. Life expectancy. Global life expectancy continues to rise. On average, people are living longer and healthier lives, and this is really due to advancements in medicine and better healthcare and improved living conditions, just to name a few. I don't have specific stats on those, but you can find a lot of stats on all things regarding life expectancy if you check out their website. Child mortality is another thing that people have misconceptions about. So child mortality rates have dropped significantly, just like poverty. So in 1990, about 12.6 million children under the age of 5 died each year. And today that number is around 5 million. So it went from 12.6 million to 5 million. Even though global population has increased. So it's actually even better than it looks. And you can, again, check this out along with these other facts on gapminder.org to find out even more in that area. Now let's talk about education. Right now, more children, especially girls, are getting an education than ever before in the history of the world. The global literacy rate has increased and more young people are completing higher levels of education. Really, education is going so much better. Child mortality is so much better. Life expectancy is so much better. Poverty is improving so much more. And those are just a few. I'll just name 2 other ones and then I'll have you go to the website yourself. But access to clean water. The percentage of global population with access to clean drinking water has majorly increased. Improving health has majorly increased the quality of life for millions of people. Again, go to their website for an updated statistic because that changes all the time, but so much higher than you think it would be. Number 6, renewable energy in the U.S. So for the first time, the U.S. has generated more electricity from renewable energy sources than from coal. And this makes a significant shift towards sustainable energy. I know there's different perspectives on renewable energy and all these thoughts on that, but the point here is not necessarily even what the numbers are, but when you look at the facts in so many areas from sources that are not biased and that are reliable and looking at the worldwide picture, so many things are better than ever. There were several that they talked about in the book about safety and about access to so many things that we never had before. It truly is, in so many ways, the best time ever to live. Now, are there problems? Absolutely. Are there things that concern you when it comes to raising your children? Definitely. I often talk to parents that talk about if they would have been alive when the pioneers were alive, and I definitely wouldn't. And most of my friends in that circle also said, yes, I wouldn't have as well, because there's so many things that have happened with their health where they wouldn't have made it through if they didn't have access to healthcare like we do now. and the advancements that we do now. So my point in sharing just a few of these, I just gave you a couple stats. I just want to challenge you to shift your mindset. Understand that these statistics that I've shared is a first step toward a more positive outlook in your life and changing some of those deeply ingrained beliefs that it's really terrible out there in so many places when that might not be true. That might be an outdated worldview. So one thing that you can do to shift your mindset is to seek out positive news and make a habit for looking for positive news stories. So this website, like Gapminder, is really good at keeping it unbiased, but also there are other places too that really focus on being just left wing or not right wing, but really seeing the bigger picture and focusing on that middle ground. And that is really hard to achieve. But a couple that I looked up, and I know there are others, and you might have a different opinion on these, but some of the ones that were suggested were The Guardian, BBC News, Flipboard, Dig, New York Times. And again, you may or may not agree with those. Maybe you have some suggestions of your own. Feel free to send us some information on that. The second tip to change your mindset is to question negativity. So when you encounter negative news, ask yourself if it represents an overall trend or just an isolated incident. Remember, bad news often makes headlines because it's rare, but not because it's common. I think about how controversial the news is and how tumultuous during an election year. And the older I get, the more that I see that. And it makes me angry that we are so easily influenced by politics. We think that it's reality, then all of a sudden someone is elected and then it's calm waters. And that frustrates me, that I don't see it how it really is, that I'm just being influenced. And we all are, right? I think I've shared this before, but my exchange students often come here very fearful. And in Idaho especially, we often feel very safe. Not all of us, but the culture here is not quite like it is in Europe. Like many people leave their doors unlocked, or if your neighbors leave you cookies, you're not suspicious that it's poisoned, or you talk to your neighbors. Just all these things that they don't do in many of these countries that my European exchange students have come from. And I love that, but it's easy to get caught in that trap or a cultural norm that things are not safe, when in fact they are safer than ever. Remember to not be influenced by that negative news because it is not accurate oftentimes. Another thing you can do is educate yourself. So use resources like Gapminder to educate yourself about the true state of the world. And I know this is just one place. There are many other places like that. But knowledge can combat fear and misinformation, and that abounds very much right now when everybody is putting information out there. Whether they've had any education or not, or whatever it is, they might position themselves as very, very knowledgeable, but have actually very little knowledge or information or even wisdom. So the fourth tip is to focus on solutions. This really resonates with me because I love this in counseling, and I find that there's a lot of counselors and therapists out there that just focus on problems, and they get bogged down by all of the problems and over-identifying with them, not only themselves, but with their clients, and I can see how detrimental that is for clients. So instead of dwelling on the problems, whether it's in therapy or in your life or in your family life, look at what is being done to solve problems. Many organizations and people are working tirelessly to make the world a better place. So do something if you see that something is not where it could be, but don't let that be your main focus. It reminds me of anti-war. Instead, promote peace. Do what you can to build peace and get intentional about it. Hans Rosling is the co-founder of Gapminder, and I believe he's also one of the authors of Factfulness. He said, "The world can only get better if we understand how it is. We must learn to see the world based on facts, not ideology or pessimism. Get focused on those facts. They can bring you a lot more peace of mind and your family as well." Another simple practice that you can do is keep a gratitude journal. This is what I have a lot of my clients do, and each day I just have them write down 3 things that they're thankful for. And this can help you shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right. It's so simple and so easy, and most people don't do it, but it really does help. I've done this myself many times. When I start to find myself going back to a more negative mind frame, I'll pull this out and start doing it again. I just use my line a day journal, because they actually give you like 5 lines, and I use that to just record those things right before I go to bed. The world is far from perfect, but it's important to recognize the significant progress that we have made, my friends. When we challenge our outdated mindsets and embrace a fact-based worldview, it's so much easier to foster a more optimistic outlook for ourselves and our children. So celebrate the progress and work together to continue improving the world in those small incremental steps. Until next time, stay optimistic and see and be the good. And for more information, like I said, go to gapminder.org and check out those detailed stats right there for you to challenge those beliefs that you've grown up with. Also, don't forget to check out fulfillmenttherapy.org to sign up for one-on-one coaching with me, or coming soon are going to be some of those courses. Hopefully I'll have all 3 up. I'm not entirely sure yet. Time will tell. But there's going to be a personal growth course, a parenting course, and a marriage course that are all 12 weeks long and will help you break it up into just simple steps to improve your life and your marriage and your parenting and have that extra accountability. So check that out. That should be launching January 1st, so stay tuned for that. You can also sign up for our email list, and we share the links to the 2 podcasts coming out and what it's about each week, as well as anything else new that's coming and some tools and insights on how you can maximize your personal and family fulfillment. So check that out on the website at fulfillmenttherapy.org. Thanks again, my friends, for coming, and we'll see you in a few days. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.